hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie, and today I have 6 all-new beach DIYs for you using supplies from the Dollar Tree. So let's get started crafting. I had such a good time coming up with these ideas, and this is our first one. I'm going to use one of these shore living around signs. I don't think it really even matters which one of those you use. I'm going to use the Beach Vibes only one. And I thought I would give a go at like the Dollar Tree grass skirt like wreath. So I got the adult size. And then I also got a wire wreath form from the Dollar Tree. And I've seen people do these for a fall wreath, but I've never seen them do it for a summer wreath. So I wanted to see if I could pull it off. The adult one is about 27 inches long. So I divided that by 3. So I was thinking like each section could be about 9 inches long. And then I just kind of grasp it together, cut it all at once. And I get a big, the entire skirt basically, but 9 inches long of it. It's way too wide to do one bundle with this. So what I do is I just kind of like figure out how much is there and then just separate it about half and sit half to the side. Now, I've seen it done, you know, they want it to look like raffia for fall. I want mine to look fairly clean. That's why I kind of evened up the ends there. And then I just go around this cross section here on the middle rung with a zip tie from the Dollar Tree, and I just zip tie the grass skirt to it. I want to keep it like, you know, the same direction as the wreath form to kind of cover up as much as that wire wreath form as I can. And then just snip off the zip tie. You can see one bundle really covered a lot of it. So I think one grass skirt is going to be plenty to make this wreath. So here's our second bundle. It's all ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and do the opposite side. And there's 6 crossbars. And I'm going to do 6 bundles of grass skirts so that works out perfectly. Once I get it on there and right before I tighten it all the way, I kind of make it, you know, kind of horizontal to the wreath form so it'll cover more. And as you can see, it kind of looks like giant like grass skirt pom-poms, but it gives kind of a really cool effect in the end. So here is the rest of our grass skirt. What I'm going to do is just cut this about in half. So each one of the sides will be about 9 inches again. So I'm going to use every bit of this grass skirt for this one. Here's my bundle, and then I just have it. It's pretty easy to try to figure out about how much there is. And then I'm gonna find my middle crossbar and just keep continuing doing that all the way around. It's gonna take a total of 6 of the little grass skirt bundles to fill it up. And it really did a great job of covering the wreath form. I didn't really have to do much else to it. This wreath was one of the easiest wreaths that I think I've ever DIY'd. It was really quick to make, and it turned out so cute. It's very whimsical and very fun. And I guess if you wanted to make yours a fall wreath, you totally could. It's going to be that time really soon. I think I'll do a fall video next. July's kind of a hard month on here because it's actually very much summer, but summer DIYs just don't seem to do great. But hopefully you guys enjoy these beach DIYs today. As you can see now, I had to kind of cut it off because I wanted to cut those knots off the top of the grass skirt. So I only cut half of them at a time. I thought that would be easier to cut it like that. And so this is my 5th bundle that is zip tied on, and then I have my 6th bundle here that's still on there, and I want all the length I can get, so I'm just cutting off like the little knotted portions on the twine for the belt. And here is our 6th and final bundle. The sign that we're using is a shore living sign. Any kind of a round beachy sign is gonna look great on here because you know, that's going to be almost the same size as like the inner ring of the wreath. It's going to kind of overlap our wreath a little bit. And doesn't that look kind of cool together? I was pleasantly surprised with how well this turned out. And it's got some glitter on there, but I'm going to overlook it because it's such a pretty sign. I think it's going to look really cute. So I'm just kind of turning my zip ties around so you can't really see the little joint piece, just kind of putting that on the back. And then I'm just going to use this existing like hanger for the top of it to tie this to the top. I'm just going to go around that middle wreath form just like we did all the zip ties and just knot that there. I'm also going to attach it with a little bit of hot glue to make it like lay flat against it. But I think it looks really cool. I wasn't sure if I can make this look coastal, but I think it really does look coastal. Anytime you can use like a raffia, you know, it kind of gives you that like seagrass feel. And I think it looks pretty cool. So I hot glued that down, and now I'm going to use a couple of the Dollar Tree Shore Living starfish and a sand dollar. I thought maybe 2 starfish, kind of going with the water, and then a sand dollar at the top would be great. I'm just going to kind of leave them as is, and I'm just going to hot glue them to the sign. And I think these were the perfect final touches here to this wreath. This would be really pretty indoors or outdoors, but wouldn't this make a lovely summer wreath for your door? I think it would be really cute. And it was so easy. You see how easy that was? Gonna glue this one right here, and this DIY is complete. I really like that technique, and I'll have to try to remember that for in the future because I've never made a wreath that was that easy to put together. And let me show you how it looks. Hanging in my entryway. I think it is so cute. I kind of like the randomness of like the little grass skirt pom-poms. Just very fun, I think. And here is a wide shot of it. Okay, are you ready for another DIY? I picked up one of these little surfboard plastic trays that they have every summer at the Dollar Tree. I got the sea turtle one. It's so cute. I got a lot of these sea turtle dishes, and I plan to give them away at my 20K giveaway. I can't wait for that. So whenever I work with plastic from the Dollar Tree and I want to make it look a little bit more high-end, the first thing I do is do a layer of the matte Mod Podge on there to take away that plastic sheen. Now, a lot of times I like to turn these into surfboards, but today I thought we could turn this into a boat shelf. You know, like a boat that's standing up vertically that has like, you know, shelves to put stuff on. I thought we could do kind of a tiny version of this and have something that I can display my seashells on. So I needed something flexible for the sides, and I didn't really have any way to bend wood or anything like that. So we're going to use Dollar Tree rope. This is the white rope, the 6-foot long one, nice and wide. And I just start at the point of the board and hot glue that on. And I'm going to do that all the way around. There's kind of a lip on it that provides like the perfect place. I'm kind of just overlapping that towards the outside just a little bit. And just hot gluing one section at a time, make sure that my hot glue doesn't set up. And I'm actually going to cut it when I get to the end because I want my sides of my boat to be all level. I don't want to keep winding it around. So I'm going to cut at the points. Now that took a good portion of my 6-foot rope. So I'm going to open a new package and I'm going to save all my scraps for the shelves. So I'm just building up. So I just glue now to the rope that was underneath of it, trying to keep it as vertical as I can, right on top of each other. And I want to keep building this out until I have like a nice size wall for the sides of the boat. I've always wanted to make one of these, and I've never been able to figure out what supplies from the Dollar Tree I could use to make one of these. And I'm so glad I did this because it turned out so cute. So this is my third and final rope. I decided that that was probably wide enough. And I'm just going to glue that one on the same way I did all the others. I have all the cut ends at the point to kind of keep it uniform. And trying to keep my walls kind of steady. And this is sturdier than I expected it to be. I don't know if it's sturdy enough to stand on its own like that. I'm going to make mine like a hanging little boat shelf. But that's what we have so far with the sides of the boat. Now I want to make shelves in there to display my shells. So I decided that the Dollar Tree rulers would be really good for that. So I'm kind of seeing if I have enough rope, and I think that looks pretty good. So I don't want to just have the ruler wood be in there for the shelves though. I want that to have a little bit more support. So what I'm going to do is go in there with the rope first and do little rope shelves for the boat, and then put the wood on top of it to kind of have a solid surface. Now, this is lower than the sides because it's a dish, so it kind of goes deeper in. So my first piece I'm going to cut shorter, and this is just going to be one that's going to go right against the bottom of the dish like that. So it kind of only needs to go over to the walls. And I'm just going to attach that one with hot glue too. And since this one is lower than any of the rope that we've used on the sides, now I need to add a total of 3 on top of that. So when the sides have 3 rows of rope, these shelves are going to have 4 rows of rope. So I want another shelf right about here. So I did the same thing with that one. And then just measuring, I'm just cutting them a little bit longer on every row, really wanting to go all the way side to side, and just stacking those up until it is level with the sides. So a total of 4 rows. And I am trying to hot glue them to the sides a little bit, but not real secure. And I am going to reinforce it with a little bit more hot glue once I get all of these on. So a total of 8 pieces of rope for the shelves. And it's going to have that great sea turtle background. So you could do this with any of them, but this one already has the sea turtle background, so it makes it super cute. So this is my ruler that I'm going to use for the shelf. So I'm going to kind of measure how big I need that to be. I'm going to run to my saw, cut that down, and it's going to make a cute little shelf that fits right inside there. I'm going to glue mine down with a little notch down. I just wanted a little surface where I could display seashells. I needed something light because, you know, this isn't super sturdy. It's not like a structure made out of wood or anything, but it's definitely sturdy enough to hold seashells. And so that's what it looks like when I glue that right on top. I'm leaving like the first and the top row kind of exposed. And then I'm going to take another one of those wood rulers. I'm glad it's back to school season. I've been able to pick these up pretty readily at my Dollar Trees, and I love crafting with these. And I'm going to cut this ruler down as well, attaching it with hot glue. I do 3 bands for all 3 ropes there, and just glue that right on top. I thought it would be nice to have a shelf like on the bottom too, another like solid surface. So once I get those 2 on, I actually do a 3rd one for the very bottom. So I'm going to open up another package. I had enough left on my scraps for those, but they have this hole in the end and I didn't really want a hole in my shelf. So I'm going to cut another one down right about here. Like that, and I can always use my scrap wood for something else, and I just hot glue my bottom shelf in. That way I can do 3 rows of display. And that is the construction so far of our little boat. Isn't it cute? Now, I was a little worried about how strong my little shelves were going to be, so I decided to reinforce it with a little bit of hot glue from the underneath, gluing the sides to the shelves, and I think that helped to reinforce it just a little bit. It's super cute, isn't it, with the turtle background? And I decided to make mine a hanging sign. I thought it would be sturdier if I hung it than if I were to attach it to a base, but I did think about displaying it like that. I just didn't think it was going to be super sturdy if I did that. So I'm just going to flip it over and just make a very simple hanger on the back of this little plastic dish using an extra piece of the ruler and just some Dollar Tree twine. I thought that would help to reinforce it a little bit. So I just cut off a little loop of twine. I'm first going to hot glue that to the back of my tray. And then I'm going to hot glue this on, notch down in between to help secure that on there. And that is the last step in this little sea turtle boat DIY. This was so fun to make. I wasn't sure if this was going to work, but it totally did. And it looks so cute displaying my shells. So this is how it's constructed. Definitely looks like a little boat, and it is full of little shells. So super cute. I really love the sea turtles. I was so excited to find those at my Dollar Tree this summer. And this is how it looks hanging up, displaying some of the shells that I have found. And I think it's so cute and sweet. What do you guys think about this DIY? We have our little sea turtle boat. I love it. I'm so glad I decided to make it. I was really afraid that it wasn't going to be sturdy enough, but it totally is. Okay, next DIY, I'm going to use one of these little photo hangers from the Dollar Tree. These are great. I've used these before to do my little macrame sailboats a couple weeks ago, and I really liked it, so I wanted to try to give it another go. It's got like a total of 7 of these ropes hanging from it, and I wanted to do something really unique like a wall hanging, and I thought I was going to need a total of 6. So I just snipped one of those off, and I want to hang like 3 individual signs from this that all form one picture. So I'm going to need one on each side, so that's why I need a total of 6 of them. So the first thing I do is untie all these, and then I'm going to cut them all the same length. So however long the first one was, I'm going to cut them all the same length. Now I'm going to use some Dollar Tree shelves for the signs for this, and the holes on them were a little small for that. So I do end up replacing these, but it was my first intention to go ahead and use these, and you totally could. It was just kind of a little bit harder. These are the wall shelves that I'm going to use. From the Dollar Tree, you get 2 in a package, and so I need a total of 3 of them. As you can see, it does come with like macrame cord, which is smaller than the ones on there, and I end up using that just because it made my life a lot easier. But I love making signs out of these kind of shelf signs. They're so cute. And I thought we could put 3 together and we can make our own like unique like sea creature. I was thinking I wanted like a longer sea creature on there. They were a little rough today, so I did have to give them all a good sanding, kind of cleaning up the holes on them as well to kind of give me a good blank canvas to decoupage a design on. Now I made this design on Canva, and I will share the link with you. You're gonna get 3 separate files and you can print them out. These were about 5.5 by 7, I believe. So that is how big I made mine. I had them print out like at 100%. And there's a slight overlap because that measurement's a little bit larger than the sign, and I kind of did that on purpose. And so I just do a nice thin layer of Mod Podge on my first sign, and I decided to go ahead and cut off the bottom. That way I could kind of line them all up with the bottom to the sign so they'll all be like the same like height up. And this little cute sea creature that you see there is a dugong. It's very similar to a manatee, which you guys know I love manatees. But these are like found more like in Africa and Australia is what my son was telling me. They're super cute. They're very similar to manatees, but they have different tails. I noticed they were a little bit skinnier too, but I wanted a fun sea creature that I didn't have anything to do with any of the other DIYs I've ever made. And so this guy is definitely unique. Once I got it Mod Podged on there, I'm just going to use a Dollar Tree sanding block and just sand the paper off. It's going to give me a perfect cut. As you can see, I designed it a little bit larger than my sign. That way I could go all the way to the edge and I wouldn't have to worry about lining it up or having like any white lines on the sides. And so I'd already cut the bottom, so I just need to do the sanding for the other 3 sides. And that is the head of our little dugong. I'm going to further seal it on there with another coat of Mod Podge. My first coat had dried underneath, and this is just going to help seal it and make it more durable. So we're going to do the same thing here on my second one. I will go ahead and like put these all in my Google Drive. It'll be like a 1, 2, 3 since there's 3 different files. And I am just going to Mod Podge this on. I try not to do too thick of a coat of Mod Podge when I'm using just regular printer paper like this. Because I don't want any wrinkling if I can not get any. And I'm lining this one up with the bottom, making sure that my other sides all kind of overlap slightly. And I can kind of feel that out by kind of creasing the corners to make sure it's where it's supposed to be. If you act quickly, you can get rid of wrinkles like that, but not for too long. I'm using a scraper on mine, but be very careful when you use a scraper because you can definitely rip that while it's wet. So I gave it a dry with my dryer, and then I'm just sanding off the sides on this too. My son is obsessed with this one. He thinks it's so cute. And I'm like, are you taking it to college with you or what? Is this going to be in your dorm? So he might steal this one. And so I cut it all off, go over it with another coat of Mod Podge to seal the deal. And it's lining up perfectly. I had a slight overlap on the images, so even when I cut off the sides slightly, it's still going to kind of match up. So I cut off the bottom of piece number 3, and we're going to Mod Podge this one on as well. Trying to thin out my Mod Podge on that one. I went a little crazy with that one. Line this up by the bottom, make sure all the sides are lined up, and then smooth this one out and do the same thing. If you do get bubbles in there, don't worry. They will usually come out in a day or 2, and you'll never even know they were there. As long as you can get pretty smooth, you're going to be good to go. So that is my 3 signs. I'm going to seal this last one. And then we can start putting this DIY together. Now, this was a shelf, and so there were like 4 holes in it. And so I'm going to kind of pop those back in there. I can kind of see some of them. Some of them I kind of had to feel around. But I'm just using a Cricut weeder. And basically, I'm just cutting through my paper and kind of going around in a circular fashion, trying to like open up the circles on those. Since the holes are there, I want to try to fill all of those up. And I have 2 strings for each one, so I'll have plenty of rope to pull through those. I'm just going to pull the rope through the back and knot it on the front to give a really fun coastal, one-of-a-kind sign. I've made a lot of whale DIYs and I've made a lot of shark DIYs, so I kind of wanted something longer that was a different sea creature, and I'm so glad I chose this one. It's so cute. And as you can see, the tail is completely different than the manatee tail, so that's cool. Now I got it all sealed. I got my holes cut. I'm going to give it a slight distress with a chunky brush and some ivory paint, all working in one direction. I kind of distressed a little heavier than I wanted, and so no big deal. I just go back with a baby wipe and a little bit of elbow grease and kind of soften that a little bit because I wanted a little coastal farmhouse distress, but I didn't want it to look crazy. I still wanted you to be able to see the image. So I cleaned mine up a little bit, and I just like the feel. You totally don't have to do that stuff if you don't want to. So this is my hanger from the Dollar Tree, and this is kind of how I had lined it up. I knew it was going to be kind of hard to get the rope through the hole, so the first thing I did was just hot glue all the tips to make them, nice and sturdy. Once that gets on there, you can kind of mold the hot glue into kind of like a little needle that you can just feed through there. And I did get this sign, the first sign, knotted on there with all 4 strings, using one for the top, one for the bottom on each string, as you can see right there. And then on the second one, I was like, this is taking forever. I have these strings that came with the shelves, and they're perfect because that's what's meant to go with the shelves. And so I decided just to cut these strings down to the same length as the like macrame cord that was already on there. And I just cut down 6 of these, and it made my life so much easier. So you might want to switch out the rope if you're going to use the same kind of thing. If you can't find this thing, this little hanger, the photo hanger, this would be really cute too with like a piece of driftwood at the top. I thought about doing that. Okay, so I'm using I left one on there for reference so I know exactly how they had theirs tied off. And they had theirs tied off like this. Just a simple loop and pull it through. Trying to keep the length the same on each individual string. And then I'm just going to go in and do that for all 6 of them. Kind of do them now so I can get them all going the same direction. And I'm so glad I decided to switch these out. I am going to leave like the rope that's on there for the hanger. And I'm going to need that entire pole because we have all 3 of these signs to hang, and it's going to take up the entire width of this for sure. Now, again, like I did before, I put hot glue on the tips, kind of molded them together, and it was so much easier to feed these through. So I do 1 from each string bundle, 1 on the left, 1 on the right, tie them off, and then I go back with the other one, the other rope, and put it through the top for that side. As you can see, they're not all like equally cut out, so sometimes they can still be a little bit more difficult, but I went ahead and got all 4 on there, and now we can start working with the middle piece. Now, you're not going to want to tie your knots too tight because you might need to raise or lower it a little bit to get all these signs to hang even. I did do a little adjusting on mine at the end by adjusting kind of how tight I had some of these knots tied, but I was trying to kind of lay them out, trying to get it as even as possible from this angle before I tied these off. And then you can kind of see if it's going to hang right. So this one looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and snip off my extra rope. And as you can see, I'm going to need that entire dowel up there. So going to have to kind of push them over a little bit so we can fit the rest of this, the third and final sign. And again, I just hot glue the ends. I use 1 from each side to go in the bottom holes, and then the other one goes in the top holes. That way it fills all the holes up on it. I would rather do that, and it kind of makes sense with the way that these are tied off on the thing. If you do have trouble getting your rope to go through there, sometimes you can help it along with like a pair of pliers or something like that, or the cricket weeder to help feed it through. So we're going to tie off the bottom and then do the same thing here on the top. And you probably could have done it with the macrame cord that was on there, but as you can see, even with the thinner rope, it can be a little bit of a struggle, so make your life easier and just use a skinnier one. So that is our third piece, and I want them to all hang level. I want them to all have kind of equal spacing in between. So once I get these hung on there, I do kind of hang them and kind of see if I need to adjust them or not. You can kind of figure out if you need to adjust them, if they're going to hang evenly or not, and then cut off my excess rope. They are so cute. I think I've got them lined up nicely. I was a little afraid that the hanger might fall off the sides because it was all the way at the end. So I decided to secure that with a little dot of hot glue on each side just to make sure that everything stays in place. And that's the final step of our little hanging dugong sign. It's definitely one of a kind and very unique. And I think this was a dugong like in an actual aquarium. I think that's why it's such a good picture, but I think it turned out really fun. And this is how it looks hanging in my entryway. I like the distressing of it. Kind of takes away a little bit of the photography element of it. And they are all hanging very nicely. And this is how it looks from a distance. So I definitely will include the printable files if you want to try to recreate that. Hey guys, I wanted to take a quick moment out of today's video and let you know about my private Facebook group. You will find out when I post new videos and you'll get to see what else everybody else is crafting. Everybody is so creative in the group. I always have it linked below, as well as my Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, and my handle is Crafty Beach on YouTube. Okay, beach DIY number 4. We're going to use some of these bikini tops they have in the summer section at Dollar Tree right now, and a Dollar Tree sign and some Dollar Tree burlap to make a really fun, neutral, like coastal sign. I think this is going to look really good in my bedroom. I don't have a lot of blues in there. I have more like greens and pink tropical colors. And so I like to use more neutral in there, but I definitely like it to still be coastal. So this is kind of the medium wood one sign from the Dollar Tree. And I just mix a little ivory acrylic paint with some antique wax by Waverly. It's going to give me the perfect like driftwood color. And then just using a chunky brush from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to distress. I'm mainly concentrating on the 2 outside boards because those are the ones that you're going to be able to see. And I kind of wanted to do a shell display and make it look like I have like 3 like giant shells displayed. And I thought this would be the perfect background. I think they look good, like hanging vertically like that. So I've got that distressed nicely. I am going to replace the hanger that came on the sign just with some Dollar Tree twine because I like to feed them from the back, not them on the front. I just find that they always look nicer hanging on your wall. And this is a thin sign from the Dollar Tree, but I was glad to see that it wasn't bowed at all. So it's going to hang nice and flat. So I'm just going to tie both of those off in the front. And then I also wanted to add a touch of burlap to it. And Dollar Tree has these burlap rolls right now. Every time I see these, I pick them up. I think I probably have a burlap problem because I think I have too many. So no more burlap rolls for me. I think I'm good. So it kind of covers the middle section completely. I'm just going to use a little hot glue here at the top of the sign to get us started with that. And then I don't really want hot glue to be displayed, you know, coming through the burlap. So I'm just going to Mod Podge that down just to make it look a little bit nicer in the final project. So I hot glue the top just to make it a little bit stronger up there. And then I just do Mod Podge on the center section of the sign and just smooth that out. I also reinforce the bottom with a little bit of hot glue as well before I trim off the length. So I'm just going to hot glue that down just to make it a little bit more secure there. And this is going to be a great background for those shells. And a lot of people see like those little plastic shell bras at the Dollar Tree and they don't think about crafting with them, but they actually have great texture and I think they're going to work out really well for this. So the background is ready to go. Now we just need to DIY the shells. Now they come, 2 in a package because they're like a little bikini top. And so I'm just going to need a total of 3 of those, so 1.5 packages. They already have the strings strung through them. I don't need any of that. The only issue with that is it's going to leave you with some holes that they drilled in the shells. So that is kind of the first thing you kind of need to deal with when you're DIYing with these. I chose to tape on the underside to give me something to spackle to. Otherwise, the spackle's just going to go straight through the hole. And I happen to have some like white duct tape. I think this is from the Dollar Tree. I'm not sure. But you can kind of use whatever you have. You could probably even use masking tape for this. The great thing about the white duct tape is it kind of even matched in with the white shells, right? So I'm just tearing down little pieces of the duct tape and covering up all of the holes. There's a total of 3 holes in each one. And now when I flip them over, I kind of have a back behind the hole, so I have something that I can use to spackle that in. Now, they're cut a little jagged. I just kind of try to smooth mine out a little bit, and then it just takes a very tiny amount of Dollar Tree spackle to fill up those holes. And it doesn't completely hide them, but it does a good enough job that you can craft with them for sure. And they're white plastic, so they look kind of cheap, but we're gonna paint them and make them look a little bit more high-end. And they do have a great texture already, so it's really easy to do. I'm gonna use that same color that we mixed up for the driftwood, the Antique Wax by Waverly mixed together with ivory. And I'm just gonna distress all over, using that brush to kind of get in all that great texture on the shells. They are textured vertically and like horizontally, so there's just a really good design on there. And just kind of go all over with those. I don't want them to be super dark, but I do want them to have the detail. So then I go back with a baby wipe and kind of wipe off all of the excess, leaving a lot of that like driftwood color like down in the seams. And if I really wanted them to look distressed, I would use Antique Wax by Waverly, but I want mine to be kind of bright. So then I go in with ivory. So it's kind of like white, that tan color, and the ivory all mixed together. It's gonna make them look a little bit more realistic. I thought maybe I might need to go over them with some matte Mod Podge, but the acrylic paint did a great job of taking down the shininess of the plastic and kind of making them look more real. So that's our 3 shells. We're gonna display them all together on this sign. This was so easy to put together and it just turned out so cute. So the first thing I'm gonna do is kind of measure my sign, kind of find out where the middle of my sign is so I can try to line these up properly. And these are really easy to connect just because they're just plastic. So I just do a thin bead of hot glue around most of the edges and then quickly sit them on there, centering that to the little burlap stripe and the board. And kind of pushing it down to make sure it gets good contact so it can dry well. And then we're just gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the other 2. I thought about adding like a little bit of color to this with like a blue bow or something like that, but then I remembered I did kind of want more neutral colors with this. So we're just gonna go with these like browns and ivory colors. This is gonna look great in my bedroom. And these vertical signs are great because you can even fit them on really skinny walls. So I kind of measured out there about where I wanted my second one, and then we're gonna do the same thing with my third one. Now, I didn't really measure, and I thought I could kind of eyeball where I put this one on. And so I put it on about here, and I was gluing it down when I was like, I think that's closer to the shell above it than the spacing between the other 2. So I'm like, it's, just got a little bit of hot glue on there, so I think I can still fix it. And it was about like a 1/2 inch. So I just popped it off real quick, and really it didn't leave any damage. I was glad because I kind of just want to move it down a little bit. I just use my heat gun to get the hot glue wet, and then we're just going to try again, moving it down a little bit this time. And I'm glad I did because the uneven spacing on that would drive me crazy. So another bead of hot glue, trying not to burn myself. And that looks way better. And that's just a quick, easy, like giant seashell display, just using a couple of items from the Dollar Tree. I think it looks really coastal and cool. I thought about using a starfish for the center one, but I only had a smaller one or a larger one. So I decided to do shells all the way down. And I'm kind of glad I did because I think it looks really cool. And let me show you how this DIY turned out. This is how it looks hanging in my entryway. I'm glad I decided to distress the board behind it. I like that kind of driftwood feel. And if you didn't have a brown sign that you wanted to use like that, you could totally cover the entire back of the board with burlap, and that would look really cute as well. So don't be afraid to craft with those little bikini tops from the Dollar Tree. They're actually really cute seashells. The next DIY, I'm going to use a Dollar Tree cutting board and a Dollar Tree beach canvas. I thought I could do a fun beach DIY for my kitchen. Of course, my kitchen is beach themed too, right? And so I picked up one of these cutting boards. It's kind of thin, but I thought we could make it look really cool, like a hand-painted cutting board using a Dollar Tree canvas. I really liked this image of the 2 beach chairs at the beach. Now, the cutting board's a little wider than the canvas, so I'm going to have to be careful when I cut this off and actually cut it from the back because I kind of need the sides on there to make it wide enough to cover my entire cutting board. So I'm just using a razor blade and just cutting on the outside of my staples. The only tricky parts are the corners where it's kind of overlapped. And if you don't want to mess with the staples, which I don't, you kind of have to go through it a couple times to get the corners, but it is free. Now, the only thing I was worried about is the canvas had like a crease there on the sides, and I wasn't so sure that that was going to flatten out. So I decided to give my canvas a quick iron first to kind of flatten that out before I attach it to my cutting board. And I love like these little cutting boards that they have at the Dollar Tree now. It's a really nice size and so easy to DIY. So I'm just using my Cricut Easy Press and just smoothing that out, canvas down, and ironed great. Nice and flat, and now we can cut it down to size to attach it to our cutting board. I thought it would be easier to cut it now rather than later because it is a thick canvas. So I just kind of sit my cutting board on there, and as you can see, it's going to cover all of it except for the handle. And that's okay because I had a plan to decorate the handle of the cutting board anyway. And so I just drew that on the back with just an ink pen, the size, and I'm just cutting straight on that line all the way around. These canvases from the Dollar Tree are very easy to cut out. Once I got this on here, I realized how similar this is to like the shape of a Christmas ornament. And then it gave me some ideas for Christmas that I'm definitely going to have to pick up some more of these because I think they'd make great Christmas ornament DIYs, like giant ornaments. So I go over with a rather thick layer of Mod Podge and then lay my Dollar Tree canvas right on there, lining up the sides. And I did a pretty good job of cutting that out. Just smoothing it down with a dry paper towel to make sure it is all glued down. Now for the top of it, I thought it would look really beachy and fun to wrap it in twine. So I'm going to use Dollar Tree twine for that part. And I just start by hot gluing a little piece to the back to get me started. And then I decided that I probably should put a hanger on there now as well while I can still get to it. So I just looped some more of that twine through, just knotting it off. Because once I wrap this all the way in there, it's going to kind of trap that hanger in there. So I do a little bit of hot glue on the back just to kind of give me a little bit of grip when I'm wrapping this around. I will also have to use hot glue too when I get down towards the tip where it kind of wants to fall off when I'm wrapping it. But for right now, it kind of just stays in place right where I need it. I just keep wrapping it until you can't see any more of that raw wood underneath. And this is where it gets a little tricky here at the end. I use hot glue, kind of have to let those pieces dry. Otherwise, they're going to kind of slip off like that. And then I decided to also add some hot glue to the back to kind of stabilize it a little bit. So it's pretty easy up until this point. Otherwise, you kind of might need to hot glue each row, kind of like this, to get good coverage. And I had just enough twine to get this done. So everything looks pretty good at this point. Maybe one more row at the top, and then I can just secure this to the back. And it's looking really cute like this. I wanted to seal mine to make sure it was extra durable and take away some of that sheen from the canvas. I want this to look like a hand-painted cutting board. And so I go over it with another coat of matte Mod Podge, kind of tone it down a little bit, dry that. I decided it still had a little bit too much texture and sheen from what I wanted, so I do go over it with a second coat of matte Mod Podge as well. And then you know your girl's going to distress it. I'm going to use a little bit of ivory, and this is going to be a very light distress because, again, I do want it to look hand-painted, but I do still want that coastal farmhouse vibe, so a very light dry brush, just working in one direction with that ivory. And then follow that up with a baby white because, again, I didn't want it to be too heavily distressed. And it really does look like a hand-painted cutting board. I think it's really cute, and it's going to look really cute displayed in my kitchen, like hanging underneath my kitchen cabinets. And this is how it turned out. You can see how that distressing kind of added a little bit to it. And what a fun beach scene. I want to be there right now. And you could also kind of just sit it like this, and it would look really cute as well. Okay, this DIY, I wanted to try to see if I could use these new burlap canvases from the Dollar Tree and see if I could make a fun like coastal beach lantern. So I picked up 4. This is the 5x7 of the burlap canvases. I think they're so coastal and cute, but I thought since you could see through the burlap, it might make a decent lantern. So let's give it a go. I want 4 of them. I'm just going to have to kind of, put them together like that, where one side will be slightly wider because it's going to have that side on there. But I kind of disguise that in the end and make that look a little bit more finished. I was thinking whether hot glue was going to be enough to hold this or if I needed to use some nails. And I decided to try to just go with it with some hot glue, and it actually turned out pretty good. You are going to have to hold it though, like I'm holding it, pushing it down to make sure everything's square and everything's connected. Try to give me a good 90-degree angle there. Once I got the first one on, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side the same way. Try not to use too much hot glue because I don't want any to seep out. And the trick on this one was just pushing it down and having a little bit of patience. And now it's time for the 4th and final side. I thought I would do one side at a time. That way we could get it nice and square without interfering with the other sides that we've already put on there. And then I wanted to use some of those dolphin glass stickers from the Dollar Tree to kind of decorate this and give it more of a beach vibe. And the glass stickers and the burlap, not a great idea, but I kind of show you how I get around that with the kind of Mod Podge that I use. So once I got my 4th side glued on there, I just did one side at a time. That gave me a nice square box for my lantern. And it left an open top and an open bottom. So what I want to do is cover up the bottom, and I do have like a scrap piece of burlap on my workstation. I love that Dollar Tree has burlap now because I'm using it all of the time. So I thought we would just do a burlap bottom. That way it'd be nice and consistent with the sides. It matches perfectly, and that looks pretty good. My piece is kind of cut up and kind of jagged. So what I'm going to do is just cut it a little bit larger than I need it to be. But I also want to give myself enough room to be able to trim that down in the end. So I'm just going to cut down all the sides. And then to attach the bottom on there, I'm just going to hot glue the burlap to the bottom. So just on the sides of my canvases. And I hardly ever craft with Dollar Tree canvases unless I do like a reverse canvas. But I am digging these burlap canvases. They're so fun. Definitely coastal. I did opposite sides first, gluing that down to try to pull that tight against the bottom. And then I can go back and glue the other 2 sides on. Again, trying to pull that tight using my little finger protectors from the Dollar Tree so I don't burn myself. And glue the bottom all the way around. Now I can cut off my excess burlap. I'm just using some sharp scissors, trying to get as close to it as I can get. But if I don't get all of it, it's going to kind of blend in with the canvases anyway, because it's the same material. So I'm just going to trim up all 4 sides, and we're going to have a bottom to this. I'll also want to disguise the top a little bit because I don't want you to be able to really see how we put this together. I want it to look a little bit more finished. So it has a bottom on here as well. You could use whatever you have, but the burlap's a nice touch because it's strong enough and it matches everything really well. Now, these are the glass stickers that they had at the Shore Living line this year at the Dollar Tree, and the dolphin print. I thought that would be a nice, fun image to have on my lantern box here. I was trying to decide whether I should do it on the wider side or the skinnier side, and I decided to do it on the wider side. Now, these are super sticky, and I've never really had trouble with them sticking to anything, but they didn't really want to stick to the burlap, which is not too surprising. But I did give it a try first, sticking them on here, and what I realized is it was just going to kind of fall off. And I have a new Mod Podge that I ordered from Amazon the other day. I will have to put that in my Amazon shop if you guys want to check this out. It is called a fabric Mod Podge. And I couldn't find it at any of the stores I shop at, but supposedly you can't attach like napkins to fabric and it'll even be washable. So I can't wait to try that. But I thought it might be a good application to try it on the glass stickers on my burlap. And so that is what I used to attach it down. It already had like a sticker surface on there, but I just kind of added the fabric Mod Podge to the back of it. And it worked. It definitely glued it down. And so that is another fun Mod Podge to try. They have so many different kinds now. I usually use the matte one from the Dollar Tree, but once I saw the napkin technique, I knew I had to try this. I also did another coat on top just to kind of help make sure that that was sealed down on my burlap, and it turned out pretty good. Now, I don't want an image on all four sides. I just kind of want an image on the front and the back. That way, if I display this like on the coffee table in my Florida room or wherever, you know, you're going to have a image on each side, but it's not too busy. So here is the opposite side here. And I know it's not going to stick now, so I'm just going to use my fabric Mod Podge, cover the back of my sticker, and also put it down where it is going to be on the burlap. Kind of had to attach it first to see where some of the little dolphins were going to be, and then just Mod Podge that down and smoothing it out. I'm very intrigued by it. I noticed that it's a lot thicker than the Mod Podge that I normally use, but I can't wait to try this on more applications. And so even though the burlap didn't want to cooperate, we still got some cute dolphins on here. And I'm just making sure everything is glued down tight. Now I wanted to kind of disguise the top of it, and I have some of that extra white 6-foot rope from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to glue that on here. It's about the same width almost as the canvas. And what I do is I just take one piece and glue that all the way around all four sides, kind of meeting at the corner. Now, when you do that, you can still kind of see the staples from the canvas in there. You can still kind of see how it was constructed in there. And so I do go in and do a second row on the inside of the rope too, slightly more inset. But I think my camera dies here, and so you'll get to see it here in just a second. So that's my first row of rope. And then I go in here with my second row. But again, I think I lost the footage. My camera will record for 30 minutes and then it automatically turns off. It's annoying, I know. So there's my second row, slightly down, but it covers up the lip of the canvas. And then I took some of that rope, macrame rope from Dollar Tree, and I am just gluing that in the seam between the two canvases just to finish that up. I thought that would be nice and thin. It's going to match the rope that we put on top, but it's just going to kind of give it more of a finished vibe. And I just do a thin bead of hot glue right there in the seam between the two canvases. And then just for simplicity, I just wrap it around the bottom and then come back and do the other side. And just kind of help to finish it up, make it look more like a vintage lantern, so you can't really look at it and obviously tell that I put it together with 4 Dollar Tree burlap canvases, but it turned out really cute. What do you guys think about this? I decided to use an extra bright battery operated candle that I got when we were on spring break on that boat down in the Keys. And it's nice and bright, maybe brighter than the ones from the Dollar Tree, but I think it's going to look really good right inside here. And we have a fun little beach lantern. I've been wanting to make a little beach lantern, and I think it turned out so cute. It's about the same size as a tissue holder. You know what? You might be able to make it into a tissue holder as well, now that I'm looking like that. So I decided to turn off my work lights and kind of test it. And the burlap gives me the exact effect that I was wanting from a lantern. And this is how it turned out, our little dolphin beach lantern. And I love those little glass stickers. I still have some of the designs from the last 2 years. And I love crafting with them. They're so fun. And look at that. I even used it on burlap and it turned out really well. And this is how it looks with some of my lights turned off. It lights up really nicely. Hey guys, I wanted to let you know that I've introduced memberships on my channel. For $4.99 a month, you can help support me here at Crafty Beach. You're going to get early ad-free access to my videos and a few other perks as well. And I want to give a huge shout out to the following Crafty Beach Bum members. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Coastal Couple, Pamela Bergeron, I Am Mojo Jojo, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Sandra Ray, Stacy Hall, Carrie R., Tracy Knight, and Verna Noctigal. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I appreciate you so much. And it's time for the final reveal. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Comment your favorite DIY below, or come say hi to me because I'm going camping today. And don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers, and I'm going to have a big 20K giveaway. Enjoy the final reveal.
Look ahead, the sea is calm, and I know we've been through a lot, but just wait. Wait for better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. Now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. Wait for our home to show on the horizon. Soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. When we can't read the sky, we just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore.
Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to watch more Crafty Beach videos, YouTube thinks that you might enjoy this video right here.